Have you ever wondered what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Well, today we're talking about something even bigger. We are talking about what happens when the planet's most legendary sea monster decides to pick a fight with Chuck Norris. This, my friends, is the shortest long story ever told. Long before the internet existed, before mere mortals had to Google how to fight giant squid, Chuck Norris had a simpler method. He would simply stare at the ocean until it confessed all its sins. And for centuries, this system worked flawlessly. The tides behaved, the sharks were polite, and the sea remained respectfully calm. But then, one day, something stirred in the deepest, darkest part of the world, the Mariana Trench. The kraken, a beast of myth and nightmare, awoke from its slumber. And it was having a very, very bad morning. With a flick of a tentacle, it slapped 3 cargo ships into metal confetti. Then, it hacked into every emergency broadcast channel on the planet. The message was simple and chilling. Fear me. But there was a small addendum. Except Chuck Norris. He scares me. Chaos erupted. The United Nations went into a full-blown panic. World leaders gathered in emergency meetings, debating everything from nuclear options to strategic retreats. One delegate even nervously asked if giant calamari was keto-friendly. The world was on the brink of a seafood-flavored apocalypse. Then, amidst the frantic noise and political squabbling, a strange silence fell over the room. The air grew still. The temperature dropped a few degrees. Chuck Norris had arrived. He didn't walk through the door, of course. That would be too predictable. He simply roundhouse-kicked reality itself, until a doorway appeared exactly where he needed it to be. The Secretary-General, pale and trembling, whispered, "The kraken! It rises!" Chuck Norris, calm as ever, simply adjusted his beard. As he did, the Earth itself seemed to rotate slightly on its axis, just to give him better lighting. It was a subtle, yet powerful, move. Across the globe, the ocean churned violently. The kraken, let's call him Steve for simplicity's sake, erupted from the depths with a roar that shattered windows in coastal cities. "I shall destroy all of humanity," Steve bellowed, his voice echoing across the continents. Chuck didn't flinch, he just squinted. A nearby submarine, witnessing the intensity of that squint, evaporated out of sheer respect for its power. Steve, not one to be outdone, decided to make the first move. He flung a colossal tsunami, a wall of water the size of a mountain range, directly at the coast. Chuck Norris looked at the wave, unimpressed. With a casual flick of his wrist, he sent it flying back out to sea like a piece of wet laundry. Undeterred, Steve summoned a hurricane, a swirling vortex of wind and rain that threatened to tear the sky apart. Chuck took a deep breath and exhaled gently. The hurricane immediately apologized for its rude behavior, turned around, and transformed into a gentle breeze that smelled faintly of wood smoke and pure, unadulterated patriotism. "Face me, human!" Steve roared, his frustration growing. He was used to being the scariest thing in the water. This was new territory for him. Chuck Norris took a step toward the shore, and then another. As his boots touched the sand, the ocean parted before him. It wasn't a biblical miracle. The water was just plain nervous and wanted to get out of his way. A clear, dry path formed all the way from the beach to the monstrous kraken. The battle that followed was nothing short of legendary. Lightning, drawn to the sheer awesomeness of the event, struck the water around them. The seas churned in a frenzy. A pod of dolphins, watching from a safe distance, huddled together and prayed to whatever dolphin gods they believed in. At one point, Poseidon himself, the god of the sea, peeked his head above the waves to see what all the commotion was about. He saw Chuck Norris, saw the look on his face, and immediately pretended he'd dropped his trident before slinking back down into the abyss, not wanting any part of it. The fight raged on. Steve threw everything he had at Chuck. Tentacles flew, waves crashed, and the very laws of physics seemed to be taking a coffee break. Finally, Chuck Norris decided he'd had enough fun. He leaned in close, so close that the Kraken could feel the immense power radiating from his beard, and he whispered 3 holy words: Texas, Roundhouse, Redemption. He spun. Time itself winced. Physics grabbed a notepad and started taking furious notes, realizing it had been wrong about everything. The kick connected. It was a kick that didn't just break the sound barrier, it broke the very concept of barriers. The Kraken was launched from the ocean with such force that he soared straight up, past the clouds, past the atmosphere, and into low Earth orbit. And there he remains to this day. Poor Steve now circles our planet, a trembling, tentacled satellite, a cosmic warning label to any other intergalactic or deep-sea bullies who might be thinking of starting trouble. Back on Earth, humanity erupted in cheers. The ocean, deeply embarrassed by the whole ordeal, sent a formal apology via a message in a bottle. And Chuck Norris, he simply whistled. A bald eagle descended from the heavens, landed on his shoulder, and together they rode off into the sunset. His denim glistened in the fading light, and his beard shone like the last honest mustache in a world full of pretenders. To this day, sailors and astronomers swear that if you listen closely on a quiet night, you can hear a faint, gurgling whisper from the stars. I really should have stayed asleep. But of course, that's impossible. Chuck Norris doesn't allow sound to travel through the vacuum of space. He only allows one thing: fear. Thanks for watching our little tall tale. If you enjoyed this legendary story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Let us know in the comments what legendary feat Chuck Norris should accomplish next. Stay awesome, and we'll see you in the next video.